321 Media is about so much more than sports. It's about community. On 321 Media, you never have to miss a game. You can watch on your phone, on your TV, and anywhere.
Good evening and welcome to Fiore Calls Game. I am your host, Andrew Fiore, and for the first time ever in our new studio here, we have an in-person guest with me here. This is Denie Marie, longtime college football coach, a lot of experience. He brought in his full resume for me, folks. That's how much front and back, and then a whole separate sheet. That's how much we've got to talk about here. He's a Westerly Athletic Hall of Fame member. We'll go over some of that, and he spent a lot of time in college football, predominantly with the Virginia Tech Hokies. And Denie, how are you doing this evening?
Doing well. A little chilly up there, but
yeah,
it's cold in Virginia also. But no, it's great to be home. Got to see Thanksgiving Day game. That was over 40 plus years. They look good. They did good. You know, Coach Pizzato, and he's done a great job. You know, I was talking to George Greer.
Yes.
And I didn't realize that Coach Pizzato, I think, is the only coach that's won a state championship in baseball and a state championship in football. That's pretty good. We've had some great coaches come through here. You know, Coach Federico, Coach Stellitano, Coach Ajuri, Coach Moreno. You know, I mean, they all won their share for sure. But they haven't won one in each sport. You know, that's pretty tough to do. It's pretty tough to do. I mean, just the time commitment and, you know, the relationship. You got one in the fall and one in the spring. How do you prepare? So, hey, congratulations to Westerly High School.
And to do it all in such a short span of time, too. I mean, you'll have some coaches stay for like 2 decades or something at a big program or something.
Yeah, I know. Within the last few years.
He did it in 3 years. And I feel like the only coach I can think of is Frank Keeney up at URI, who's won in multiple sports like that. It's incredibly rare. But shout out to Ron Spizzato. I know there's been a lot of coverage. You all saw the Thanksgiving game right here on 321. But yeah, it all started for you right here in town, even though you moved on to Virginia and everything. But your experience at Westerly High School, you've laid it out for me. 2 sports, just like Ron Spizzato, baseball team captain and playing football. What do you have to say about your roots here in Westerly, starting out as a Bulldog before anything else?
Well, in my time, that period, you had baseball and basketball. We had no football. So when you're 5 years old, 6 years old, you got a basketball in your hand, you got a baseball bat, glove, et cetera, et cetera. So, you know, those are the sports we played. And we never had the outside distractions you have now. You know, there's so many sports these kids can go to. We all played together from Little League to Babe Ruth League. In basketball, you had the Y, you had CYO, you had junior high basketball. But if you look at our teams back in my time, 57 to 59, 60, I mean, we were all on the same teams or on different teams, but we all played with each other. All-star games, all-star teams. So, I mean, athletics in Westerly, I mean, we were pretty darn good. You know, we played in Class B Southern, which wasn't, you know, we played against some really good teams, and we played the Cranston East, Cranston West, you know, West Warwick, Mount St. Charles, I mean, Situate, South Kingston, you know. So, but we had great coaches. We had great coaches. I mean, if you go back and look at our basketball, my 3 years in high school, they won the state 2 out of the 3 years. Football, we're okay, not great. Baseball, we always got to quarterfinals, semifinals, never really, but we had really, really good teams. Football-wise, never thought I'd play it. You know, I was a basketball, baseball player, but I got kind of talked into it. You know, I was first year in high school, sophomore. Never really played organized football, never put pads on. You know, we played in the backyard. We had all those kinds of games. But, you know, I was fortunate. You know, I got to play early as a sophomore. And from that point on, you know, Thanksgiving Day was my last game that I ever played football, ever put a uniform on. And then a young man by the name of Richie Capuccio, he was the founder and came up with the idea about Pee Wee football and kind of you know, got me involved with it.
Mm-hmm.
So I started with Pee Wee football, and then we advanced, and I went, and we had 8th and 9th graders because we still didn't have that sophomore class at 9th grade that you all have now.
Yeah.
So we played in a league called CLC, Cranston League for Cranston Futures, all the Providence schools, Cranston schools, and so on and so forth. And basically, it was a freshman team. And I think I was like maybe 69 through 74, I believe. I mean, but on that team, you know, we had 2 undefeated years, and then they went into high school. But basically, I just started going to clinics, every clinic I could get to. That year, I got an opportunity to go to St. Thomas More. We had great players there. We had them from all over the country. New York, New Jersey, PA. But our feeder system was like Syracuse University.
Mm-hmm.
Kids that they recruited were marginal academically. So I had worked a football camp, Marty Domer's football camp. Coach Navarro ran that camp, and there was coaches from other schools, and we made that connection. It's all network, Andrew. It's all network. So they started sending kids. I was only there a year. I coached offense. I was defensive coordinator. I coached offense also. I was assistant head coach. There was 3 of us as the head coach. But we played all the JV teams, URI, UConn, Central Connecticut, all the
back like the Yankee conference days.
Yes.
Yeah.
And then the big school at that time, I don't know if you remember this, was Milford Prep. I mean, they had some, they were the same as us. Down south, you have Fork Union and schools like that. We recruited those very heavily. I mean, there's some really good athletes there, but you have to be careful. Are they there academically? How bad are they academically? But they're really good players. So, yeah. And then from there, the following year, I got an opportunity to go to the Coast Guard Academy. And the athletic director there was Otto Graham.
Wow.
And I got recommended by an old-time coach, Nels Nitchman. And Coach Hickey, Bill Hickey, had been at Notre Dame with Parsegian. When Coach Parsegian retired, Coach Hickey went to Army,
Mm-hmm.
and he got the job at the academy. And I got a recommendation, went down and visited with him, and so that started my career at the collegiate level. I just went on from there.
So did you get to work with Otto Graham?
Otto, he had coached, I think maybe a year or 2 before that.
Oh.
But the funny story with that is, like, our locker room was all together, and his locker was in with us, which was nice. We saw him every day. But I can tell you right now, just as you and I are sitting here, this is the truth, Andrew. I had to go in an interview with him, and he's a great man, really. And he looked at me after the interview, and he said to me, "Why in the heck do you want to coach football?" I looked at him, and he just smiled, and I said, "Well, I love it. I have a passion for it." And he said, "No problem." That was the question he asked me. Why do you want to coach football? I wanted to say, well, you played it all those years. Why did you play? But so it just took off from there. And there were some semi-pro teams around here that I worked with in the summer. But being at the academy was just, was just a step. So from there, Trinity, and then from Trinity to Brown. But it's all network, Andrew. And of course at Trinity, I love that because I coached baseball too.
Oh yeah.
With we had a coach. His name was Roby Robertson. He had played with Detroit, so it was great because at spring break we'd go to Florida, and we stayed in Steinbrenner's. There was a complex with the Cincinnati Reds, but we were able to do that because you could coach two sports. And then from that opportunity, I had worked for Joe Namath and John Dockery at their football camp for about 26 years. And that's all network. And the college coaches have the senior group. So most 95% of us were college coaches. So when we had guys from Penn State, Maryland, Syracuse, BC, everywhere, assistants. I mean, no head coaches, don't misunderstand that.
Yeah.
We're all assistants. Well, Coach Rosenberg was the on-field coordinator, and he had been at Penn State. They won the national championship, and the following year he went in the USFL with Mora for Philadelphia Stars. But him and I had worked together, and I used to go to Penn State in spring and clinic. I stayed with John, went to meetings, practice, and stuff like that. So when he got the job at Brown, he also hired another good friend of mine, Tommy Groom. There's my Tech connection. Tommy was a captain at Virginia Tech, played with Coach Beamer. So he went to Brown with Coach Rosenberg, and they brought me in and interviewed me there, and I got the job there. Coach Beamer gets the job at Virginia Tech. Coach Groom and I lived together in Warwick. Coach Groom leaves, goes to Virginia Tech. So in the summer, I went down and visit with them. They had a camp. I worked at camp. I came back, and football was 9 coaches, 1 head coach, and 2 GAs.
Wow.
I mean, that's what the coaching structure was for a long period of time.
Yeah.
But they also had a full-time volunteer. So they had a guy that was a head coach, and he was just filling in until he got another job. So they gave me an opportunity. They called and asked if I would. Coach said he wanted to talk to me. I went down. So that's how I got to Virginia Tech. And I stayed with Virginia Tech, but opportunity comes. And then from Virginia Tech, I got the opportunity to go to Kent as a position coach and recruiting coordinator. So every step you make in your career, it's like the title, you're the vice president, then you become the president, then you become the CEO. It's all a network. And the staff at Brown that we had, 3 of them went to Kent, and then I joined them. So we had been coached together at Kent, coached together at Brown. So, I mean, it's just, that's how it is, you know?
It's fascinating how interwoven the network of assistant coaches is in just college football. And it makes me wonder, how much do you think different plays and strategies and like different playbooks and schemes like travel through those pathways and impact a team?
Well, playbook, it's not so much the playbook. I mean, your basic formations, et cetera, they're the same. I mean, you got two tackles, you got two guys, you got a center.
Yeah.
You know, all that is the same. Where you get the innovation is, it's the terminology. The terminology is the key. I mean, I know you hear it and you see it on TV all the time. You know, that young kid coming in, you know, into the pros, for an example. I mean, he's as athletic as anybody, but until he learns the system, the terminology, et cetera, that's when the trust comes in. But basically, Andrew, it all depends. I mean, we've been in formations where it's run and shoot, I formation, wishbone. It comes down to fundamentals, technique, blocking and tackling. And I mean, what the kids have to learn basically is what that coordinator wants and how he's schemed against this defense, what he likes against this defense. Now, defense is a little different. I mean, guys come in with, you know, an even front, an odd front, you know, 3 down, 4 down, you know, different types. I mean, but as you graduate level wise, let's say from Division 3 to Division 1 to Power 4, each level there's an increase in talent. There's also an increase in competition.
Right.
But working with and players, good players make good coaches, period.
Yeah.
Good players make good coaches. I mean, you can run any scheme you want. A great example is now I was in coaching, but I was, you know, sports staff when Michael Vick was there, right? Coach Bussell cut the playbook down a little bit because he didn't want to tie his feet up. You know, don't give him a lot in his mind that's going to tie his feet up.
Yeah.
Michael Vick, offensive line in 2 years, allowed 1 sack.
Wow.
Now, that's not the offensive line. That's the kind of talent he had. So as you progress talent-wise, and you can see it in the NFL. I mean, this past weekend, I don't know if you saw some of the catches. I mean, these guys, I mean, they're phenomenal.
Yes.
I mean, in the throws, I mean, Brett Favre, I mean, 3 feet, he's going to throw the ball in there. You know, I mean, double coverage, he's going to throw the ball. He can do it.
Yeah.
So based on the talent that you have, and that's why I think sometimes in high school, coaches go to clinics and they read books, and basically you got to apply what you have to the talent level that you have. You know what I'm saying? I mean, if you got kids that are smaller, service academies, what do they basically run? They run option football. You know, why? They don't have across the board like Miami or Tech or Oklahoma or Alabama. You know, they're not 370, 380, you know, 350. So you got to hone in to what's best for this team. Got a quarterback can run the ball.
Yeah.
Run the option. You got a kid like the young man at Wesley Haruso is what, 6'4",
I'm not sure, to be honest.
I mean, he throws the ball well.
Yeah, he
So
does.
utilize it.
Yeah.
He's got really good receivers. Daniel Cummings.
Yep.
Now, I think he's got a great future.
He looks like it. Yeah,
No,
certainly.
I really like him. I watched, not a lot. I watched a little bit of tape on him, and he's really athletic. So I think what you asked about was scheme-wise. I think you have to fit your scheme to the talent level that you have,
Right.
basically. I mean, you can't ask kids to play man coverage if they can't run. If they can't change direction, they can't bend their hips, and they can't break on the ball, then you can't run it. You got to put them in a position where they're good, where they're comfortable and they can make a play.
Yeah.
I mean, at the Power 4 level, if you watch the secondary, I mean, those kids can turn, they can run, they break on the ball, their transition, they can get turned around and get back where they're supposed to be, where other, some kids can't. That's just the level is, I've been in all kinds of systems. I mean, different coaches, different things. With Tech, we weren't run and shoot, but we threw the ball and we ran the ball. I mean, we put our running backs were in the NFL. We have receivers in the NFL. Our quarterbacks in the NFL. So you have to adjust to what you have. I think I was watching a recruiting show today, like Georgia. I mean, they got like 40, 50 kids in the NFL. Alabama is 34. I mean, you could do almost anything.
Yeah.
But, basically, each level, each step, I think you have to adjust to what those kids can understand. At the levels that I were at, is the most important thing is teaching a kid how to study film.
Mm.
Don't look at film, study film. By that, what is that opponent doing? I'm a receiver. I'm watching, posture, how you line up, whether you got it head up, inside, outside shade. Do you have help on the inside? How do you turn? I wanted my kids to play with their eyes.
Yeah.
So when you're looking at film, everything matters. DB could walk up on you. If he's in zone, he's kind of standing up and he's looking around. Now, if he goes man, he might come up there. He's staring you in the eyes. He's right. Those are little things that you have to look at.
Mm-hmm.
Because on our side of the ball, you have to know whether you got a move concept or a no move concept. If you're playing zone, all this going up doesn't matter because you're going to a landmark.
Yeah.
So get off as quickly as you can, keep your pads low. I want to step on your toes to get you to back up, come back. Now, if it's man to man, then it's a move concept. So if I'm going outside, I'm coming off, I'm going to stick you to get you to turn your hips, come back inside, get you to flip again,
right,
and then go back into where I'm supposed to be. Same thing with reading defenses. There's either somebody in the middle of the field or nobody in the middle of the field. Your pre-snap readers, you got to know that.
Yeah.
How do you know that? You watch film. You study the film. They might line up that way. Nobody on defense lines up where they're going to be. They're going to give you a pre-read.
Yeah.
And you got to find. So you look, and you study, okay, if they're in this, he does this. Then you look for the open windows. You adjust to where the quarterback can get to the ball. I mean, there's some routes that you do have to, I mean, you got to stick with it. But basically, we always tell a kid, hey, be an athlete. You know, if you're supposed to be here and it takes it away, then move over a little bit. See, all those things, as you progress, talent-wise, like the kids play Pee Wee, they go to high school, they go to college, and hopefully they go to NFL. Every one of those levels, you're starting on the bottom.
Yeah.
You know, every move that I personally made, it was like, after a while, it was like, man, I don't know anything. Because it's complex.
Yeah.
And you know, the playbooks are different. They're bigger. I don't mean size-wise. It's just there's a lot of information. You know, some have easy, you know, pro right, pro left. I've been on systems where one play was about 11 words. You know, it's just who that coordinator is and where it was from. When I wasn't coaching, but I was at Tech when Loeffler was our offensive coordinator. He coached Tebow and he coached Brady.
Wow.
And now, you know, and he was an NFL verbiage guy. You had to remember that. It had no rhyme or reason. You had to remember what that call was and what happened.
Yeah.
And he went on to Bowling Green. Now he's the quarterback coach with the Eagles. But see, when I first started out, it was 23, even on the right side, odd on the left side. 22, you know, that's a running back, 33 is fullback. Everything was really simple. And that's what I started. You know, that's how we taught these kids. Here, they got to learn the basics first.
Yeah.
But I think at every level, I think that you teach the same. I don't think you try to be who you're not. You know, I mean, at some of the schools I was at, it was mandatory. Like I spent, not only myself but our coaches, but mine was 4 years. I spent 7 days with the Redskins. You know, that was just one. And then, you know, went to 49ers when Walsh was coaching, and out with BYU with Lavelle Edwards. I mean, coach, you know, was up there. And then when I was at Kent, because Coach Cordelli was with Lou Holtz as a player and as an assistant all the way through Minnesota. And I went up there and spent 3 days at practice, and then in the evenings with Coach Holtz.
Was that all to scout those stints at NFL teams?
No, what we did there is like with Coach. I'll give you an example with Coach Holt. My objective, you know, what we did is we wanted to know everything about his short game,
right,
from the 20, you know, red zone and even more. So and then when we came back, our staff, when we came back, then I had to present that. Each coach had to present what they were out for.
I never knew they did that.
Yeah. Well, you know, that's who depends on your head coaches.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? And that's why when we were talking about spacing and windows and nobody in the middle field, I learned that from the 49ers. I mean, I sat with their receiver coach, went to meetings with him, and told me flat out, he said, I don't care what happens out there. And he was on the board. You know, we went on the board, and he said, there's somebody in the middle of the field. Oh, there's nobody in the middle of the field. I don't care what you call it. And that's how you adjust. So, like Pee Wee coaches or high school coaches, I totally recommend go to clinics, because every coach has a different idea, Andrew.
Mm-hmm.
Like the Glazier Clinic, two of the top offensive line coaches in the country. One college, one NFL. So, when I was young, I wanted to learn all the positions.
Yeah.
I can't coach it.
So
But
what led you to wide receiver?
I don't know. Maybe because, I never played the offensive line, and they're bigger than me.
Yeah.
And that's the only two positions, the offensive line and the defensive line. Now I coach outside linebackers, secondary, and quarterbacks and receivers together.
You've coached all of them. Wow. I saw wide receiver online. I assume that's your specialty.
It is. But why I coach a secondary is because if you're coaching, no matter what position you're coaching, I think you need to know what's happening on the other side of the ball. A little example we were talking about.
Yeah.
In other words, I coached secondary for about 8-9 years. So in my meeting room, and we all did this, is at the level when at Tech and at Kent and at Brown, when you come in the meeting room, you know that playbook. You know that playbook. I'm not going to sit there and teach you that playbook.
Right.
Because we have probably 45 minutes, maybe max an hour prior to going to practice. Now, we have an installation to put in. So, I'm on the board, all of us, and we're putting the installation in for the day, what's happening for the day. So, you might draw up a few, just so on and so forth. But they got to know what their responsibility is, what their assignment is. Because we give them that playbook, study it.
Yeah.
So when we say, okay, we're running play XYZ today, any questions, draw it up real quick. But you don't go over it and say, you do this, you do that. You put it on the board.
They know what they're doing.
Yeah, and you put the defense up that you're going to see because everything's scripted, Andrew. So play A, offensively, we're saying, all right, so we want defense B, et cetera, et cetera. We want to see what this does against that defense on, say, Tuesday. Might do the same play against a different defense on Wednesday. Then you throw out we can't run that against that defense. It's out. We can run it against this. So it's basically we do a script. Offensively, you put the defense in that we want to see versus that play. Scout team, they draw up the cards, the GAs, they draw up the cards and hold up a card.
Yep.
With the defense we want to see, and it's numbered. Okay, play 1, card 1. Play 2, card 2. We'll hold it up. And then you get the wise guys, we're on play 2. They're over there, and one of our coaches say, just to screw up the quarterback, because he's got the script. And that's not the right defense. Well, what happens in the game, son? They're not going to be what you think they're going to be. So we used to do little things like that to change it up. They memorize the script. Well, we might flip it a couple times.
Right.
So every day you worked against what you were going to possibly see on Saturday. What you liked and what you didn't like. Because everything's filmed.
Yep.
We look at film in the evening. You go through it, correct it. And by Thursday, you're kind of polishing everything in. You might take one out. We never add. You never added. Never added on a Thursday.
Yeah.
What you do on Tuesday, Wednesday is your work day. You never add on Thursday. Now, I've been in situations where I've had a coach come down, a pad and pencil during a game and draw up a play, and we never repped. It's a disaster.
Yeah.
So basically, it's all preparation. Everything's preparation. And as a coach, it's frustrating at times when your kids make a mental mistake. They're going to make a physical mistake. That happens. That's understandable.
Yeah.
But if they don't know and they don't ask, that's what's frustrating. They're going to make a mental mistake. But if they didn't know what they were doing and didn't ask,
Yeah.
that's where you see coaches on the sidelines. Well, the high profile coaches, you see them. I mean, they get all the attention. The camera comes right down on their face. Some guys are really cool on the sidelines. Other guys, are just out of control. Well, your team, it's a reflection. If you're out of control, your kids are out of control.
Yeah.
But that's how their style. And, I've been really fortunate with, I work for some really good coaches. You learn the good, you learn the bad. Coach Beamer, he let you coach. He was just absolutely great as a head coach with his players. Players loved him. With his coaches, fans, alumni, administration. Gosh, Andrew, at least about a week ago, he goes out to grocery store to get a loaf of bread. It takes him an hour and a half to get out of the store.
Yeah.
He'll stop. People take pictures of him. He's just, that's the kind of person he is. And, that's why we were successful. But we were successful there. Now, I was part of that. I wasn't coaching on those great years, but I was there, when I came back to take over a head job in Roanoke and minor league professional football. But when I got out of coaching, I went back to work for him, as I was a recruiting video coordinator. So I stayed with them until I think about 2015.
It says 2015 on here.
Right.
Yeah.
When he retired, when he retired, we were going to a bowl game. They gave us 5 days after the bowl game to clean your offices out. So he kept me on. He knew I was retiring, and he said that he wanted me to stay with him which is great, because when you work for somebody when you can't wait to go to work, it's great.
Yeah.
It goes Rosenberg at Brown. And I've been in the situations like you're seeing now. I can't coach Cordelli. He got fired after the third game. Wow. When I was there, we were 0-11, 0-11. He should have got fired. But point being is that I've been through the situation that these coaches, assistant coaches, are going through now.
Mm-hmm.
Because as an assistant coach, you're only as good as your head coach. Your head coach is winning, everything's great. If you're losing, he gets fired, and that's your support. Guys have families. So our lives at a point depend upon those kids that are playing.
Yeah.
18, 19-year-old kid, So, it's a great ride. I was just absolutely blessed with being in the right situation at the right time. And you talked about network. You make those networks also, Andrew, when you're on the road recruiting, because basically, everybody knows where the good players are. Now you got huddle, and it's easier to do, but everybody's going after the same player.
Yeah.
So, you go in first, I go in second, someone goes in third, but then after we're going to have, we're going to go get something to eat and drink a beer and,
get to know each other.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. And that works out too. Guys have gotten jobs that way. Say, listen, I having dinner, and you might say, my agent's got me in a position to take a job here. You know, I know you, and I know what you like. If I get the job, you want a job, would you come? I mean, that's how those things work. The only thing your resume is good for is HR when you get hired.
Right.
Because when I was younger, first starting out, transactions, I'd see a job opening, I'd write a letter, send it out, you get that form letter back.
Yeah.
Thank you for applying, blah, blah, blah. We'll keep your, we're going to keep your resume on file, so, but basically that's how it works. But I had good coaching growing up here in Westerly. Great. Through Little League, Babe Ruth League, play with some great guys. We had some great, there's some really good ball players come out of this. I'm not saying it's not little anymore, but I don't even know the population anymore.
I knew it. That one, I want to say 20,000.
Really?
I think. I might be wrong. I'm not going to, don't quote me on that.
I'll tell you, Andrew, at one point here, you didn't lock your doors or lock your cars and everybody's related.
Yeah.
Yep. I mean, seriously. I mean, it was just like, no matter where you went, it was that type of town. But, hey, progress. I mean, look at the world of football. College football is a mess.
Yeah. I was going to ask about the film, or just mention this, that I don't know if you've heard of AJ Pena. He's the captain at URI. They just won the CAA. And I had him on the show last week. And one of my co-hosts that's on the show sometimes, is currently essentially the assistant video coordinator there. He's my age. And he always asks anytime we have a player, do you watch indie film? Because him and I, the kid that's my co-host, Kyle and I would always have to film indie because we both were filmers at URI. I did it for 3 years, up in the construction lift, getting the film every practice.
Really?
We'd always film indie, and then at times for us it felt useless. And as a joke, one day he asked the quarterback, "Do you watch indie?" And no, we never watch indie. AJ last week was the first one. He goes, "Oh, 100%." He said, "I watch the demeanor of my teammates. I watch who's into this, how they're approaching it, even the individual drills." And he's like, "I pour over the film." And sure enough, he is one of the finalists for Defensive Player of the Year in all of FCS, and he's won all sorts of awards, and he's been killing it. And he talked about how much film he breaks down and what he looks for, and how he, like you said, he's watching the eyes. For him as a linebacker, he's looking at the center's eyes. He said when he sees the eyes go wide in that fear, he knows what to expect. He knows he's going to get a sack on that play. So it's just fitting. 2 weeks in a row now, the importance of film came out. And somewhere on here it said you were the film coordinator for recruiting. How much did you have to teach the filmers too? Were you in charge of them too? Because that's
no. I was a recruiting video coordinator. I looked at and evaluated every tape that came in, prospect.
Gotcha. Because Kyle's been doing a little of both. It's obviously a smaller school at Rhode Island, Yeah. He was having to manage the recruits. He has to pour through the opponents and stuff, look at what they're getting. He's doing a lot there, and it's
No, mine was strictly, now it's called player personnel.
Yes.
So every tape that came in off the street came to my desk, and I evaluated that player, whether he was good enough to play for Virginia Tech, or we all did it at schools. I mean, we all did it individually, but I wasn't coaching at Tech. So that was my job.
Yeah.
As the other at Brown and Kent, we had to do it ourselves.
Right.
We had to look at those Now the position coaches they went out and recruited. They got their tape and they looked at it. I handle everything about 1,000, 1,200 a year. I mean, I looked at over 20-some thousand kids.
Wow.
Because when Huddle came out, this is no exaggeration, Andrew, we were getting tape on kids in the 8th grade. We're also getting tapes and the time stamp on them, 1 a.m. Monday morning, 12 o'clock Sunday night, 5'7", 150 pounds, want to be an offensive, I play offensive line for Joe Pee Wee Football League. I mean, it got ridiculous.
Yeah.
So basically what I did is I separated what I thought was something that we should recruit.
Yes.
We should recruit these kids. And working with Coach Beamer and Coach Rosenberg, our philosophy was this. I looked at 5 to 10 plays, 5 to 10. If you were looking at more than 10, then you're chasing.
Yes.
What I mean is,
you're looking for a reason.
Looking for something, right?
Yeah.
Looking for the reason why we like that kid, or why we should recruit that kid. And so, and there wasn't a lot. I might maybe a week find 2 or 3 players, maybe out of 200 tapes, 300 tapes. I mean, that was the level we were at. So, I mean, basically, I'd give them to the coaches, and then the coaches, position coaches, make that decision. Special teams was different. Kickers, punters, and long snappers, any tape that came on my desk, and it was between me and Coach Beamer and Shane.
Yep.
But he had a little index card, and we would, at the end of the week, we rated them, and it didn't change. I mean, that was the best ones we liked, and then we would compare. I probably was 90% overall with him. He liked 1, I liked 1. He liked 2, I liked 2. I liked 3, he didn't like 3. So it was, he knew exactly what he wanted on special teams, and that's how we did that. It was just, okay, we like this kid better, take this kid off. It was, just on your board, same as the draft.
Yeah.
The draft board. You got 1, 2, 3. At our level, we find somebody better than, okay, we only have 3 at this position. Well, if we got somebody that was better, you just eliminate, put that kid up there as you want through the process. And that's basically what I did for, I don't know, from 2015 years, I did that for Coach.
What was your biggest success out of those? Is there anybody who you selected from all that ended up becoming huge and you could point to as like you spotted them?
Well, yeah, I mean, Kevin Jones, he was the #1 running back in the country.
Wow.
Committed to Penn State.
Wow.
And we recruited him. I mean, I couldn't go off campus, but I could recruit off campus. So I spent a lot of hours on the phone. And then, Jimmy Pine, Michigan, Clemson, Southern Cal, Massachusetts. His brother played for us at Brown. The biggest one I coached was an MVP of the Super Bowl. It was Green Bay Packers, Antonio Freeman. Him and I are really good friends. I still talk with him quite a bit.
I was going to say, because one of the few things that came up for you online was a picture of you two, and he tweeted out a tribute to you.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that I was going to ask about that.
And this is something that this is local. Do you remember the snow game when Venturi kicked the field goal?
Oh, Vinatieri?
Vinatieri?
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
All right.
Against the Raiders. Yep.
Correct. All right. The holder.
I wasn't born yet, but yes.
Right. The holder was the punter. The holder was Kenny Walters. I recruited him, and he was my punter at Kent.
Wow.
He came from Carolina.
No kidding.
Yeah. He was with the Panthers, and then he got traded to the Patriots. But but in the pros, coaching wise, recruiting wise, maybe 15 or 16 kids. But Antonio was special. He wasn't very fast for a receiver like today's. Now he may be 4'6", but Andrew, you throw it in this room, he's going to catch it.
Yeah.
A story that Coach Hickey told me with Montana when they were at Notre Dame.
Mm-hmm.
I guess Montana wasn't very big. Coach Hickey told us they went and watched him play basketball. He was a basketball player too. And they watched him on the court, and that's why they recruited him.
Really?
The first thing is athleticism. I mean, if a kid is athletic, and then then you break it down into parts. You always play with your eyes, no matter what sport it is, but your eyes are the key. If you're going to catch a ball, you want your eyes inside your hands. If you're going to block somebody and you need that near hip, your eyes got to go to that target. But it's, you start up top, wingspan, offensive lineman, does he get his hands in that breastplate, under that armpit? Does he have pop? Does he have push?
Yeah.
And then you work down. How are his hips? Can he bend his hips? Can he bend his knees? Can he change direction?
And then you look at someone like Will Campbell right now, who the criticism there was his arms were too short, but he's been stellar.
Yes, but but that's true. We had a lineman. His name was Boatwright. This was in 1990. He squatted almost 650, 680. Had laces. He was all right. And they measured his arms. And the problem is, if you're an offensive lineman, they're looking for 72 to 73. For an example is, and that's a great example to bring up, because when I'm looking at film, is that if I can't get my hands out and get you off my body because you're slapping, you're grabbing, if I got short arms, that reduces you as a defensive player. It reduces you to me. Mm-hmm. So once you get into my body, I'm done.
Yeah.
So we want offensive linemen that can, reach, across the street, and with some pop and some push, and then you go down to their feet. You always want to look for happy feet. A kid that's got his feet moving, is able to redirect. So that's just that one position.
Yeah.
Every position has a specific,
mm-hmm.
What you look for.
I don't know how much NFL you're able to watch, but the Patriots for the last 5-ish years have had a problem with their receiving core. Every year it was just the receivers were abysmal. This year, Drake May and Mike Vrabel have done so much with so little. They brought in Matt Collins and Stephon Diggs, but still, you're seeing guys like Pop Douglas really just shine this year. Do you think it's a coaching thing? Do you think it's more confidence, leadership? What do you think sparked the receiver change specifically? Because it's clear Mike Vrabel's changed a lot, but these guys like
Vrabel was a defensive player, so
right. But culture and energy wise, I mean,
absolutely. First of all, it does come down to confidence.
Yeah.
But you got a quarterback.
Yeah.
I don't follow a lot of NFL. I mean, I love it, but Drake May, the work they probably put in together, Plus, I did watch Monday night. Was it Monday night?
I was
Right.
there. I went to the game. It was awesome.
He dropped a couple the big long touchdowns.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it was like he just dropped it off the edge of a table. So when receivers know that they're going to have an opportunity to get the ball, they play a little bit harder.
Yeah.
Play a little bit differently. And he does spread the ball around. So to answer your question there is this, I think obviously it's a system, but you got a quarterback that can execute the system.
Yeah.
You know, he's going through his regression. And you can see it.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, his head's here, here, here. You know, and they know that. They know that they're going to get the ball. So I better do what I'm supposed to do. Because there's also receivers in the league that if whatever the play call is, they're on the back side of it. Now you're getting the ball.
Yeah.
You know? So I think basically it's the system, confidence, and Drake May, you know, your quarterback, he runs the ship.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Again, I was there in person, and looking at the 2 touchdowns, it was 2 Patriots draft picks. And the problem the last 5 years is they weren't drafting receivers well at all. Now, all of a sudden, you get May confident, you have him with more time to throw, and suddenly these receivers are looking incredible. I do agree that I think it speaks a lot to Drake. But then on the other side of that, you have a team like the Vikings, where their receivers are stellar. They have Justin Jefferson, arguably the best.
He is.
But then the quarterbacks there, J.J. McCarthy, like they're horrible. And these receivers aren't doing much because they don't have much to work with. I've had that debate over how good the Vikings really are with a friend. And he was like, if you take the quarterbacks out, it's a stellar roster. But I think it's kind of the same point where if you have a bad quarterback, like McCarthy, you could have Justin Jefferson, and he's not going to do much for you. Or look at Jamar Chase, same thing with the Bengals, although now Burrow's back.
Burrow's a hell of a quarterback. But, I mean, see, at that level, though, Andrew, it's like the incentives they probably have in their contracts.
Yeah.
I mean, if they catch 50 balls, they get $1 million. I mean, they have all these little perks. And when that's not happening to those guys, they just, I mean, it's a whole different mindset there. But at the collegiate level, everything starts up front. I don't care what you have back there. If you don't have an offensive line on offense, and defensively, if you don't have secondary in the collegiate level, you're in trouble. The thing that basically that we looked at, you know, and I kind of put in play in my mind is that you're in a tight ball game. This is as far as recruiting goes. If you're in a tight ball game, say 3 minutes, 4 minutes, what position can win that football game for you?
So the quarterback, if you're on offense.
Quarterback one.
Yeah.
You got to have that quarterback. But the next best player that you better have top is a receiver.
Yes.
Because from the quarterback to the receiver makes one guy miss or nobody miss, he scores.
Mm-hmm.
Running back has to make 2, 3 people miss before he can score. So basically, if you and I had money to spend, the position would be, I want that receiver.
The receivers in that late game situation also have an ability that running backs rarely have, and that is to stop the clock.
Yeah.
They can find their way out of bounds easier than a running back can in those situations if they're on the wide out.
But your receivers basically one-on-one.
Yep.
A running back is versus whatever's in front of him.
Yep.
He has to make, when we evaluate, we look at inside run, outside run, power, and MM miss, man miss. and then comes yardage after first hit. So, I mean, he can do all that, but that clock's going tick, tick, tick,
Yep.
tick, tick, tick.
Yep.
So, I mean, that was another factor that we looked at. We also looked at, and this isn't just at Tech. I mean, this is pretty much at all the levels I was at, or Division I levels, basically, is, size, position-wise, inside slot receiver versus a single, an outside receiver. We always looked at, you have a single, you have an inside, and you have an outside. And at the NFL level, they base this a lot on size. We did try to, but it didn't matter. But I mean, inside, you want a bigger kid,
Right.
because most of his work is intermediate routes, etc. But he's matched up with a linebacker. And then obviously your single receiver, that's a Jefferson, or
Fastest guy.
Yeah, somebody you can't cover. So the good schools, I mean, some of the places we played, what they did was the mismatch comes. You got the linebacker over here on the slot, and then what happens is, then you bring this guy in motion, and if he stays with it, if they comes with it, fine. If he lets him go, and now we got a mismatch here. We take that and do that. I mean, it's like a chess game.
Yeah.
And personnel, I think it depends on what's that head coach's philosophy. Does he want to run the ball? They want to throw the ball. I mean, you got run and shoot guys. The Pirate. Hal Mummy started, the run and shoot. Mike, oh gosh, can't remember his name.
What, a coach or
a coach?
What school?
Texas Tech, maybe. Leach.
Oh, okay.
Right.
Yeah.
Leach. I mean that. Those guys are run and shoot.
Yeah.
Coach, he had an index card that big. That's all he had. Those were his plays. Now you see on TV these guys, and we had it. Our coordinators had it. They had the big thing in the belt and flipping it over, flipping it over. We had, but that was his philosophy. He hit off of that.
With the bigger schools, another thing from last week's show comes to mind. So AJ Pena, the player I was talking about before, our guest last week with URI, he, after his season last year, he was getting offers from a ton of schools. Like he had Boston College, I think Wake Forest, Coastal Carolina, and then it was like a list of 20 schools.
Didn't go to Coastal, they just fired his.
Yeah, they just fired their guy.
Yeah.
He had a bunch of offers last year. He ended up going with Memphis. He went to Memphis, and I want to say about a month later, he decided to come back to Rhode Island, despite it being FCS.
Yeah, Memphis is going too.
Yeah. This was last offseason.
Oh, okay.
So for him, he was talking last week about the decision to leave the top level and to come back down to FCS, to the CAA. And he said it just was all about money. He said he was wondering where people's motivations were. Everything was driven by money. There were also, he wanted to play anywhere in the field. He felt the playbook limited him a little, but his biggest thing he talked about was he was just like, he was questioning whether other players were really in it for the game, how devoted they were, as opposed to just getting their checks. Obviously, the college football landscape has totally transformed in the last 10 years. You retired in 2015, so I don't know how much of it you've seen on the internal level, but can you speak to that, how much it's evolved with NIL and now the coaches moving and the players moving and the transfer portal nonstop now?
I can. you know, obviously I haven't been involved in the meetings and stuff, but I know about it because it is now a business. College football is driven by money.
Yep.
For an example, what he was just talking about is that when you go, and let's start at the high school level, when coaches, because I still talk to guys that are coaching that were my friends, you go into a home now, Andrew, and you used to be able to talk about academics, getting your son a degree, etc. Now there's three things when they go in. You got the mom, the dad, the kid, and an agent. The first thing they say is you have to be, as a recruiter now, you have to be an accountant, tax specialist. They go in. First question is, how much money am I going to get? And this is the biggest guess. This is what these guys told me. When does the check come? So let's back up. We had a really poor year at Tech, comparatively what we had. If you watched LSU play, see the best corner they had out there, Denie. Our two best corners, NFL corners, went from Virginia Tech. They doubled the money they were making. I don't know. I'm not probably not allowed to tell you, but I mean, I know what they went from. They went from one figure to the next figure. Let me put it to you that way. And that's what's happening. Some kids are going to 3 different schools. There isn't any more loyalty or commitment to a university. It's how much money am I going to make? So, I mean, there's kids that have been at 3 stops.
Yeah.
And that young man's right.
Yeah.
And especially ways, the Deep South, it's about money. And kids are also doing the same thing on a depth chart. They don't want to earn it anymore. 1, 2, 3 in a depth chart. So you might be a sophomore, you might be a senior or 2 seniors, or they want it right now. And if they don't get that, they transfer out.
Yeah.
Where in the old day was when you transfer laterally from Division I to Division 1A, you sat a year, period. You sat. If you transfer it down, you could play immediately. If you transfer it up, you could play immediately. No, that's all gone.
Yeah.
That's all gone. The NIL, originally it was supposed to be like a sponsorship, like you and I own a dealership. And that's where the money was coming from.
Yeah.
Well, that's blown away now. What's happening is they're getting alumni together. We have a group of 5. All right. 321 media. That's going to, but I have nothing to do with it. The other 3 guys have nothing to do with it, but you do. So we all say, okay, we're going to give $1 million apiece, and we'll put it under your name.
Yeah. It's, I'm under the philosophy, and I want to hear your take on this. I think on its own, like the idea of NIL is good. I think the players should be the ones making money from the sport.
Absolutely.
It was just going to the schools.
Well, yeah, and they were making billions of dollars.
I know. And then I heard a story of, I think it was 2012 when Kentucky won the Final Four. One of the players who was a star in the game went home homeless. Yeah, not home, but like he slept on the street that night. Didn't have a meal, That's not right. They're the ones doing it. They should be getting money. But now you're seeing it where it's destroying smaller schools. I mean, unless you have a team full of AJ Peñas, people aren't going to want to stick around because most players, with exceptions like Peña, don't care as much about the loyalty. So I think, NIL's got to have its limits, and I think transfers should be limited to maybe like once. Like maybe you get one transfer or something. It's got to get. But now the genie's out of the bottle, so I don't know if it'll ever happen.
Well, here's the other thing too: is Olympic sports. They're trying to do something now. Some federation. Each university, $20.5 million this year. It's 20.5, and it's going to go up. The university has to come up with $20.5 million to pay all the athletes.
Yeah.
All your sports, 20 sports, 20. They have to pay them all. But how that works, it goes like this. Out of that 20.5, 75% of that goes to football.
Yep.
Because your revenue comes from football, Andrew.
Yep.
You make a little bit money in basketball, maybe you break even. From that point down, you make no money.
Yeah.
There's no money going back into the athletic budget. Now, our athletic budget this year, and our athletic director, Whit Babcock, did it. Just the plan they put together was super. I mean, our budget now is $220 million for football.
Wow.
But we were $70 million behind everybody else.
Yeah.
That's why we got Franklin.
Yeah.
Because we're able to do that.
That's right. He went to Tech. I forgot about that.
That's right. That was part of it. But here's how the athlete works. And you're right. I agree with you 100%. Let me get ahead of this. What college has to do is come as close to the NFL contract. You sign a contract. You play 1 year, say you get a $5 million NIL over a 5-year period, a 4-year period.
Yeah.
Right. You play 1 year, you go somewhere else, you don't get any more money. Or put a buyout in it. So here's the typical athlete. Full scholarship. Now, let's see, 38. So that's 60. That's over $120,000, $130,000. That's free. Our dining services for the athletes, it's 4-star restaurant, best. That's Tech.
Mm-hmm.
And this is unreal. All the schools have this. They have their own chef, not waiters and waitresses. The kids get their stuff, but they have their own chef staff.
That's unbelievable.
Right. Okay. So that's free. They're getting paid out of the 20.5. They're getting paid. Then they're getting their NIL money. So basically, I'm saying they're getting 3 checks.
Yep. Yeah, you should talk to the very bright kid, and he's actually younger than me. His name is Jake Serra. I don't know if you actually know Jake Serra. He does track and field at Clemson. He actually represents all Clemson athletes to the NCAA, and he was talking to me about this stuff and how it works, and he was blowing me away. He's like talking about the congressional bills involved in this. He was talking about the mechanisms with the contracts and the TV, what needs to be stopped. You should have I got to get him on the show. Actually, he's got a ring in track and field, and he's like representing the entire school on these big important meetings.
Are you ready for this now?
Yeah.
His grandfather.
Yeah.
And I were the best of friends.
Really?
So Sarah and his grandmother, Cindy.
Yeah.
All right. His Trace. His father.
Yeah.
Trace.
Yeah.
And his sister Amanda.
Uh-huh.
All right. I got Amanda into Tech.
Really?
Right. I'm at the yacht club. Trace is here. He gives me a schedule, and then we're running track at Tech. And I missed it.
Oh.
But I know him very well. I know his whole family.
Jake's a bright kid. I got to get him on here, but that just made me think of that.
Yeah.
The other question, the James Franklin thing completely slipped my mind. I didn't even think of that until just now. What are your thoughts on Virginia Tech getting him?
Babe Ruth couldn't have hit a better home run.
Wow.
He just signed today. We just signed 21 players.
Wow.
This is early signing.
Yeah.
February 4th is a signing date, but some great players. In fact, I kind of looked at it before I came down. I mean, I didn't study or anything, but when he left Penn State, a bunch of kids decommitted. See, that's the deal. Recruiting is about relationships. They've been recruiting Andrew Fiore for 3 years. Mom, dad. That relationship's built. And I'm at school X. I leave school X and go to school Z.
Yeah.
I built that relationship with you.
Yep.
Because I don't care what anybody says. Kids, they'll go to that school because of the recruiting coach, that relationship, other staff, academics.
Yeah.
I hate to say that, but it's true.
It is.
I mean, I always said that you need to be comfortable at a school academically, athletically, and socially.
Yep.
Before, because if the coach left, you're going to get your education. You take the academics out now. It's athletically, socially, how much money am I going to get?
Right.
So my three have been, it's changed.
I saw a comment online, and it certainly made me appreciate the Franklin signing a little more. Someone said that you've got to respect James Franklin because he could have rode off into the sunset with that contract buyout, but instead he immediately, before the season's almost done, wanted to get back into coaching. So there's someone who's more passionate about coaching.
Yeah, you're going to hear this, right? The athletic director at Penn State, they don't have a head coach. I'm surprised he's still there. How can you do that? How can you not have a coach at Penn State to try to keep those kids that had committed to Penn State or new kids coming in? They don't have a head coach.
Right.
If I'm an assistant at Penn State and I'm coming into your home to recruit you, what am I telling you?
Right.
What are you going to say to me? Well, who's going to be the head coach? I don't know. But we love you, want you to come to Penn State,
Yeah.
Blah, blah, blah. Well, they just shot themselves in the foot.
Right.
And it's not about money.
Yeah.
Because Coach Franklin, that whatever, 40-some million was his buyout.
The buyout, well, yeah, it was huge,
whatever
it was.
They that went away. Negotiated that down. I think it was like $9 million. So it wasn't a question of not having the money. I don't know.
Does the big game aspect with Franklin scare you? His record in
No,
top?
absolutely not.
No. Why not?
That has nothing to do with the coaching. Those kids play that game.
Yeah.
And they're playing against the best.
What do you like about him as a Virginia Tech guy?
Well, I don't know him.
Yeah.
I mean,
of course.
He's been around.
Yeah.
But I mean, just obviously, we live in Blacksburg.
Mm-hmm.
So, I mean, yeah. He's passionate about it, which is plus for me.
Yep.
Because that's where my life is. He had a plan. He has a plan. He's bringing in the best people. He loves his kids, his players. He's been in the SEC at Vanderbilt. He's been at Maryland, been at Penn State. He knows the type of player. Andrew, you've got to recruit potential NFL players.
Yeah.
If you're going to compete, and he had a ton of them at Penn State, why not? why didn't everybody? Ohio State beat Michigan for the first time in what, 5 years?
Yeah.
Oh, so he's a lousy coach. He goes 11-1, 11-1, 11-1. This year he went 12-0. He's a lousy coach because he can't win a big one. That's not even a big one. He can't beat. He didn't beat Michigan for 4 years.
Yeah.
So he can't coach. It's just that's what it is. I mean, that's sports writers. That's talking heads.
Yeah.
Saying, "Oh, he can't win a big one." Really?
You can't win the big one until you do.
Right.
Then that's out the window.
He's in the ACC.
Yep.
He was in the Big Ten.
Yep.
Right. The playoffs have what, 6 SEC teams or something?
Something like
All
that.
right, whatever. Anyway, here's the deal. He's out of the Big Ten. He's out of the SEC when he was at Vanderbilt. He's in the ACC. You got Miami. And now I'm not even worried about Clemson anymore.
Right.
You got Miami. You got one team to beat.
Yep. That's about it.
North Carolina had a great recruiting. I think it was Clemson 1, Carolina 2. We were 20-something in the country. Top 25 anyway in the country. But that's just the beginning with him.
Yeah.
That's just the beginning. So the opportunities, and Andrew, we played for a national championship at Virginia Tech when we had Michael Vick. Players get you to that level.
I agree.
Players. I remember Coach Bustle, we all used to sit around the staff room just like this, and we'd laugh. Hey, Rick, make sure Michael's on time. Tell him not to miss the plane. You walk around and say, I was Michael Vick's quarterback. I was Antonio Freeman's position coach. What did I do?
Right. I agree. No, I definitely agree. The players are the ones doing it.
Yeah. I don't go out there and make that great catch.
Yeah.
The coaches get too much credit. Really, they get too much credit, good and bad.
Yeah.
Their
biggest impact to me is like clubhouse stuff, energy stuff, chemistry stuff, less what happens on the field, more of that, like again, Vrabel's a great example of it. So I agree with you. Speaking of which, one of the biggest coach versus player impact debates, which I always thought was stupid, honestly, Belichick and Brady. What do you think went wrong there at UNC with Bill Belichick? I have my own opinions on it. I'm sure I can guess what you're going to say, but as an ACC guy, as a coach, looking at one of the greatest coaches ever coming into UNC and it being a train wreck.
Well, first of all, I don't know Coach Belichick. I've been around him.
You have?
Yes.
Oh, that's incredible.
Yes. I was at Kent when he was with the Browns.
Really?
Mm-hmm. And Jim Schwartz, if you remember that name, was on his staff, not as a coach. He took care of the college coaches.
Yeah.
Well, Berea was real close to, was real close to Kent. So in the evenings, if we had off or whatever, I would go up and look at cut-ups. So Coach Schwartz you had to call him, and then you had a pass and everything to get into the building. And I was sitting in a room, it was about 9:00 at night, in their offices, and I had the film on, and I was looking at cut-ups, different drills. I'm leaning back in the chair, and I had the door open, and this guy pops in and says, "What the are you doing in here? Who are you?" And I said, I had my Kent stuff on. I said, "Well, Coach Belichick, I'm in here just trying to get better." He walked out.
Wow.
I've watched him at Berea, they have three fields, but in the middle, one of the main fields where they did all that work was they had like a track, big. It was wide, so but it was a good distance. They're changing periods. The guys, they were catching punts. I mean, they probably had to run, I don't know how far. They're coming across, right? And he's standing right on the line. Half a dozen guys didn't make it because when he blew the was over and he was going, $100, $100, $100, $100. You find them all just coming across. Yeah, I mean, they were like over in Connecticut somewhere trying to get to the next practice field. He was tough.
Yeah.
But the reason I'm making that point is that I'm not sure about his personality. I'm sure he's good with alums and they want to be around him, obviously. So he'll get the money. But I'm not sure how he relates to his players. That's one thing. But he had a great recruiting class.
Yeah.
But he really helped college football because when he got the job, he was the one that brought in Lombardi as a general manager. There was no general managers in college football. Now they're all getting general managers because head coaches really can't manage a football and worry about NIL and everything, portal and everything else. Well, he brought in some of the scouts. So he kind of made it, he was making it an NFL thing. Those players had no names on their jerseys in practice.
Yep.
You didn't want to know anybody. That's a good start. I like that. I mean, but where's that personal with a player? This is college. You're talking to a 17, 18-year-old kid.
And the age gap is a factor in there too.
Yeah. I mean, this is not his job. It's not his life. And I don't know. I hope he does well because that, makes it better for everybody.
Yeah.
In college football, especially the ACC. But
the drama in there too, all that probably had something to do with it.
Yeah, exactly. But I mean, he's teaching it like they teach it in the NFL, and you can't beat that. He's teaching them that they're learning what it's like to play football, and that I really admire. I mean, it's attention to detail. Every little thing they did. They got better as the year went on. I don't know if he had the talent. But kids are going. He got a couple of hellacious players in this. They signed to play for Bill. But that's what it is. He has to build that. He'll build that program. He's got the name.
Yeah.
Niffin going to LSU.
Yeah.
Name. Saban went from here to here. Saban has a name.
What do you think of the timing of Kiffin and LSU? I mean, he's with Ole Miss.
That's the thing. We're talking about. It's like the NFL. There's got to be a no contact period.
Yeah, to me, it's like I see this. He's taking Ole Miss probably to the playoffs, right? They're having that great season, and then all of a sudden he's jumping ship right when the playoffs are coming around the corner.
And what about these other schools that got good records? They're going to go to bowl games. Good bowl games.
Yeah.
I mean, an old timer told me, in this profession, your career and your family come first. Right or wrong, I know I listened to the, Sports Center today and some, the NFL guys, Carr and them just cut him up and all that. Well, players leave. He said, players leave. We have kids that did not go to a bowl game, didn't want to played all year. I'm talking starters. Their agents got a hold, but didn't want to risk getting hurt.
Right.
What about those kids? We're going to a big bowl game, and 4 or 5 of your best players are not going to play. I'm not playing. No, I can't afford to get hurt. I'm going to sign a contract. So what's the difference? 3 national championships. Saban, Miles, and Rajasthan. LSU, 3. They won 3 national championships. You think Ole Miss is going to win a national championship? No way. I don't care if he stayed there for 100 years. They're not going to win it.
Right. Just at least stayed at the end of the season, though, right? I mean,
But he asked. He flat out asked. He wanted to finish the season. They told him, no, go.
Wow. Wow.
I know it would have been a distraction, but it was a distraction all the time, and he was still winning.
Yeah.
I mean,
That's on the school then.
yeah. The school said, no, go. We don't want you.
You're never going to win with that, especially going into the playoffs.
No. And he got the number one. Well, the kid said he's not going to sign yet. He got the number one prospect in the country going to LSU. There's so much talent in the Louisiana area.
Yeah.
And they stay home, Andrew.
Yeah.
They stay home. And this is, Coach Beamer preached this over and over. Coach Rosenberg, we had to, New England's, Boston College got the best players. Syracuse got the best players.
Right.
And
it's nice to see Rhode Island and UConn both on the rise a little bit.
Yeah. I mean, you or I used to go to New Jersey, New York.
Yeah.
We Ivy League, we did the same thing. But point being is you gotta win that 4-hour radius, maybe. And Coach Beamer said, we need to win the state of Virginia. We went into the DMV, DC, Maryland, and Virginia. That's Tech's recruiting area. Virginia's recruiting area. You know what I'm saying? That, and then we expanded down into a little bit of North Carolina. Now, if we had a coach that maybe, say you coached in Florida or Atlanta, or Georgia, you might specialize in stuff. Like when I was at Kent, I went to Virginia. Not Virginia all. I went to areas, where I, was recruited before.
Right.
So, but you got to win that 4-hour, 6-hour race. You have to win that.
Yeah.
You have to win in state. Well, Louisiana's got a ton of super athletes. And then you get into Texas.
Yeah.
And you get into Arkansas.
Yep.
Because when Coach Bustle took the job at Lafayette, I went with him. And I had 2 cups of coffee and I was back home. It wasn't a place for me. But that was, we were going to recruit Texas and Louisiana, but, we had some recruits, but I didn't stay long. I mean, I was probably there 2 or 3 weeks, and it wasn't a place for me.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I came back and luckily coach told me, hey, don't work out, you come back here. So it was worked out kind of well.
So I believe we've got to be past an hour. Oh, we are well past an hour and a half. It's been fantastic though. But even my boss just texted, FYI, your show is currently over 90 minutes, but I'm loving it. This has been I've been totally lost in the conversation. This is phenomenal stuff. Is there anything you'd like to wrap up with? Maybe thoughts on Virginia Tech's future, your career? Any closing thoughts for our audience?
Well, I'll tell you, yes. I would love to see Virginia Tech back to the Beamer era. We had that stretch of 10 years, winning 10, 11 games, and I really believe that could happen.
What was the highest point you guys reached in that span? I'm not too familiar with Virginia Tech.
Undefeated
history.
with Mike when we played Florida State for the national championship.
Oh,
that
wow.
was 90. Well, it was a 99 year, but 2000 when we played in January. I believe that's who. I'm old, Andrew.
Did you guys win that?
No. That's when they had Winky and Peter Warwick. They had a really great team. But that, all the places I follow Brown, because that was my first Division I job, and it was great, and I loved it. And we had a host of kids went to Brown from Wesley. You knew that, right?
Didn't know that.
All right, Steve Caffer. We recruited Tommy Groom and I recruited Steve. He was the first one. You had Joey Mixie, you had Bobby Carradale, and you had Cloutier. All went to Brown.
Gotcha.
But Wesley High School, going back, the Doug Randalls, the DeGangi boys, Steve Similari. We put out a lot of good. Gilman, he was a heck of a player. He went to Rhodey. I mean, we put out of this little community some really, really good football players. But I miss going to the high school games, and I get frustrated, because I can't be out there. If they would let me just coach on Saturday somewhere, I'd love it. But that Monday through Friday, and Sunday, I'm not sure I could do that.
Right.
But it was a pleasure and an honor to be here and be on your show. Actually,
this was one of our best. I mean, over 90 minutes of just football. It's funny. You really are the football George Greer, because we had George on, and I used to have George on when I was at BLQ, and he's just.
I listen. He called me every time. I listen to every one of them.
Yeah.
Coach, let me tell you something. Coach Greer and I are really very, very good friends. And Becky, she was the superintendent of schools at Radford, which is like Wesley Mystic from where we are. So George would come up, and we would. My wife Lisa and I and Becky and Joe, we'd go out and have something to eat, and I would see George, but we played on the same little league team.
Wow.
But he was young. I was older. I was the older. He was young. He's like 4 years behind me. But you want to talk about an athlete now.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yes, he was. I mean, he played two sports in college, in basketball and baseball. He's captain Pan Am games.
Yep, that's right.
Both
of you just years of knowledge on each of your sports, and just the people you've worked with are just mind-blowing stories. And it's really an honor to hear that. And I thank you again for coming on.
It's my pleasure.
Yeah.
Yeah, really. I mean, I love this community, but I've been away over, I don't know, when I say away, I mean, I haven't lived here probably in over 40 years. And it's changed a little bit, but I still the same guys, guys I played with, I find them in the same places. I'm not going to mention any name where they're at, but, I see them around, and it's great. And this Thanksgiving Day game was the kids that, like, for example, like Paul DeGans, he came to St. Thomas More. Him and Steve Similari and Peter Ferrara, when they got out of high school, when I was coaching there, Paul went to Holy Cross, Steve went to URI, But I mean, it was great to see those. I haven't seen them in years.
Yeah.
I mean, I didn't even recognize them.
Yeah.
And they probably don't recognize me, but it's just great to be home. And I'll go to the basketball games, the Christmas tournament.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
I'll go there, and I probably don't even see the games. I just talking to people, the game's over. But, this is a great place to live.
I agree.
And athletically, we've got kids in other sports that are going places. Division I schools. So, our athletic director, they got to be doing a good job. Jamie's, he's been here, I don't know how many years, but, he's got a bunch of championships to his name, which is great. You know, it's a beautiful high school.
Yeah.
Field's great. I mean, no more can good food.
That's right. I know that much is true.
Yeah.
But hear that, folks? He's worked a national championship game, and at the end of the day, it comes down to Westerly and the people you started
Community,
with.
absolutely. Yeah. Absolutely. You know, I love going out to dinner here. Love the beach. We know in the summertime, just walk out to Napa Tree or
Yep.
I sit on a bench and people watch, you know. I mean, gosh, you know, it's just, sometimes you wish for something better, but I'll tell you what, it's what you have here is pretty good too.
Yeah. Yeah. Again, fitting, like you just mentioned working at a national championship game, but what matters more at the end is the people here and the community.
Yeah.
And I think that's a great way to close things off. So thank you very much,
You're
Denie
welcome.
Marie. It's been a pleasure. I want to thank Steve Cafone too, because he put us in touch. Fantastic work there. Steve's been helping me out networking and stuff. But yeah, I have a lot of my mind's spinning with people to get on this show, folks. We haven't forgotten about Thor Bjorn. Now that he's settled in UMass, I'm gonna be reaching out to him. Jake Serra, like I mentioned, I'll reach out to him. I've got a lot of people coming in the next few weeks, but that's gonna do it tonight. So thanks, Denie, and thanks all for watching. This is Fiore calling game. Thanks for watching, folks.